Hello and welcome back again to Rage Gaming and more Monster Hunter Wilds talk. Today we're kind of doing a post-Tokyo game show talk because it was way more than I expected going in. From the Scarlet Forest live gameplay, which was a huge deal in itself, but also the trailer and the extended trailer, which was also not expected, as well as other outside stuff, like an interview with some seriously big topics, like the potential of no elder dragons and more, as we'll talk about later. So looking back, it's been a ridiculous 3-day period of just massive information, sort of back-to-back big things with loads of footage to look at and consider, like the fact that we got a release date. It's February 28th, which means it's coming way sooner than I thought, and that also means if they're gonna do a demo, that's also gonna come pretty damn soon, right? And we'll talk about it. But beyond the release date, they also revealed, hey, the flagship, actually, finally. So we have Arkveld, which is basically a chain-blade wyvern, as we're calling it for now. Officially, it's kind of an unspecified, unclassified monster. All we really know is that it's an extinct or thought extinct monster, previously held by this faction of people that Nata belongs to, this new young child NPC, coming from the village of the Keepers. And so, it's likely the Keepers kept Arkveld. There's this interesting screenshot of him where he's like chained up to a wall, although in reality there seems to be 4 chains coming out of him against the wall or whatever it is, and then a bunch of metaphorical purple see-through chains, maybe to represent him being trapped down here. There's a lot of questions about like the details of this monster and what we're going to learn about it, but it has been said that we're going to learn more about it soon, and that's going to be a big part of this talk in this video today. What's next and when? Outside of that though, we do have the main story introduced alongside all of this information. Nata and the village of Keepers, how this region was thought to be, yeah, just unlivable and no one did live here. Turns out there's loads of people that live here. Tribes that live out in the locales amongst the monsters. We start the game by this sort of expedition being organized and multiple hunter teams, one unit we're part of, another of a bunch of characters that we're going to interact with a lot, are going out into the Forbidden Lands to see if we can find that village, the Keepers, and save them. From a recent gameplay reveal by GameSpot, we got to look at that story first mission, one of the very first missions of the game, where we're arriving in the desert section of the Windward's Plains. Suddenly we see this child running from a horde of balahara and a seikret, which we leap onto. With no weapons actually held, we chase down this kid and try to save them, eventually getting our weapon and fighting off the horde. That's our introduction to the game as we know it. In the Scarlet Forest stuff, we saw how the two regions actually connect. So physically, the Windward Plains is next to the Scarlet Forest. And as we've now been shown, you can just walk through a passage from one of these locales to the other, like a long hidden loading screen, but in a way that feels very seamless, which is the big word they like to use for this game. How will the other locales come into this, and how many will there be? We don't know. But obviously we had a lot of stuff revealed in the main trailer 4 for the Scarlet Forest, and the canopy, the super vertical nature of the map, having a look at the downpour, the apex predator being confirmed, or duna, the beauty of the time of plenty in that region looks great, but then instant gameplay the next day, where we get to really see things in action with, say, congalala, who we kind of suspected, but obviously confirmed, and then actual gameplay of, as well as new monsters like lala barina, getting a proper look at some normal fighting with that, having a look at its nest, which is really cool, and of course, duna herself and the wave mechanic to do with its storm the downpour. How it's like the first slow attack of duna is going to be then echoed out by those waves, which can cause water blight, knock you down, send you flying, and deal damage too. But since all of that, we've also had more information drop. I imagine what we're looking at here is similar to the West press coverage for Gamescom. You know, there's these commentaries coming out that show new gameplay and what appears to be the same kind of area or demo that we played, but obviously post all the information, like what the weapons are like and how they've really changed, and lots of stuff to actually consider before playing. We went in mostly blind, and what's fantastic about that is that we have less overwhelmed style footage and more honed in focus stuff like specific fights or weapon showings. The two that I've seen show new footage for Insect Glaive, Switch Axe, and Charge Blade. So on screen I'll show those channel names and such, but obviously I can't understand the language or the context of any of it. But at very least, if those weapons do interest you, it is worth looking at. So all of that's been awesome, and there's still more little details sneaking out with new footage to consider. But what's next for the media cycle for Wilds? We know they're continuing at this insane pace we've seen so far. That's because of a recent interview with what I believe is a Chinese media outlet called IGU. There was this question about the 2 maps revealed so far. The interviewer wanted to see if they'd talk about how many more maps they plan for the game, and obviously they didn't want to answer that. However, it was Fujioka who said that they'll continue to release more information in the future and we hope to maintain the promotion rhythm of information release. That's a weirdly phrased sentence, isn't it? And that's because we're relying on Google Translate. Basically, I think they're saying that they're going to try to maintain the pace of information release that we've seen so far. That's my takeaway from that. So what's that really mean? Looking back at the recent cycle of stuff, we had big news at Gamescom in August, then even more big news the following month in September with Tokyo Game Show and everything we just discussed. But we know there's more to come next month and potentially the month after that. That's because we have Gamescom Asia in Singapore. That's October 17th to the 20th. Then right after that, we have the Paris Games Week, which is from the 23rd to the 27th. It's going to be like a whole week plus of Monster Hunter stuff and new details coming out of that, even if they weren't to show anything new, just what we've seen before and anything new people can learn from that. But then, not confirmed to have Wilds anything compared to those two, there is one more big event of the year not long after, which is the Game Awards early December. We're very hopeful about that though, as we'll talk about. Either way, we have an expected playable version of the game again at Gamescom Asia and the Paris event, and previously I figured again that would just be more of the Windward Plains kind of demo. Now, after the Tokyo Game Show and all the stuff we've seen with the Scarlet Forest, I'm not sure. What if their next plan is to do another playable version of the game, but this time on the Scarlet Forest for people to try? If they weren't to do that, which obviously would be a massive deal, if they didn't do that, then I would expect more new information. Like I said, they told us we're going to learn more about Arkveld soon, so maybe that's the kind of event where they talk about him, give us more information about the very mysterious flagship. So I expect more reveals and announcements there, if not new Scarlet Forest stuff. Because if they didn't do something of that nature, then that would not be the same pace of information release, and they said they're going to keep doing that. But another thing they could reveal at these events, but I'm not sure if they will, is the demo. Like the demo that you will get to play, not at some specific event if you were there. That reveal must be coming and must be a big focus for them. And as much as I would love to hear a demo announcement and date at either, say, Gamescom Asia or the Paris Games Week events, I do feel like the Game Awards is a bigger event to do something like that, and it might make more sense. It's my understanding that typically the demos come about a month or within 2 months prior to the full game release. With the game being released at the end of February, we could imagine early January as demo time. And the announcements to come, of course, before that, maybe a month before. So, what is a month before January? It's December. And what is happening in December that would be great for that? It's the Game Awards. They want big reveals and announcements at that show. It's a great time for it. But that doesn't mean that Capcom and Monster Hunter have to do their stuff at that show. It very well could be that at Gamescom Asia or even the Paris event, they could do these reveals and such then. It's just it feels about right, like month, next month, next month. So that's kind of my expected timeline on that. We'll have to see. Now, outside of all of that, there's just a couple things I want to mention. Again, there was that interview with the Chinese outlet with some pretty big questions. I did a whole video on it because there was lots of good information there, so I'll check that out if you want. But just to be quick about it, some of the main things that I learned from that would be the topic of elder dragons. The interviewer was asking if there'd be more in Wild since we haven't seen any, and it was answered like this. There are many elder dragon contents in Monster Hunter World, so we let many elder dragons appear in various forms. But this time, our main axis is not the elder dragon, but the theme of nature and man. We hope to express diversity of the environment with both a rich and prosperous side, as well as a cruel and dangerous side. So we can't reveal what kind of monsters will appear in the future for the time being, but due to the theme of the game, it's not a situation where the elder dragon species have to appear. So it is a very interesting topic and a lot of people are, talking about it. Will there just not be elder dragons in Wilds? I think this is a very careful answer, and in regards to the story, it is a very common thing for it to be like, all right, here's the main threat and we're showing you it and this is the story. And then about 70% into the game, they go, all right, elder dragon time. They're the real threat. These were the big bads all along. It does feel like they're going to do something different with the story this time, especially with the mystery around the flagship. But I could easily see them adding them later in like the updates they do. So I guess we'll have to see. Also, another massive topic that was brought up by the interviewer was asking if there's a plan to address the likely issue of weapon swapping and the gear you're using. In short, imagine you're using a weapon and you have a gear set for that weapon, then suddenly you swap to a totally different weapon that wants, gun skills or something, and you don't have any on your armor because you were using, insect glaive. It was explained that the attack-related skills on gear are going to be found directly on weapons, so when you swap the weapon, that's automatically going to, trigger the attack skills on that. But it was when they said, additionally, you can adjust your skill combination with accessories to make it so that when switching weapons, the equipment will adjust to the other weapon type as well. This sounds like they have some kind of loadout system tied to your accessories. So when you change those, your whole set will change? It would be awesome if you could have one weapon and then you swap to another and then your outfit changes based on something you set up prior. But it obviously is a big concern and would ruin the whole 2 weapons thing if your second weapon just doesn't work with your armor set. But yeah, that's just been my little chat about all the information we've been drowning in, and a way for me to point you to different footage that lesser known that you might get some use out of, or information like that. And also to look at what's coming next and when. If you guys have anything to add to these topics then, please let us know in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.